Interactive listening on the Duolingo English Test has changed recently, and it now has 3 parts to it. Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3. And a lot of test takers get a shock when they see this new format simply because they are not prepared. But that is not going to be you, because in today's video, I'm going to explain all about the new format of interactive listening, give you some proven strategies to help you ace it, and of course, to boost your score. And I'll even show you a real question with answers so you feel full of confidence when you take your Duolingo test. So let's get started by talking about the key points of interactive listening. Well, this question on the Duolingo English Test examines how well you can follow natural conversations in an academic setting. Even though the conversations are in an academic setting, they are not necessarily academic topics. They are natural topics that you could have when you are at a university or a college. For example, asking your professor for some advice on a thesis, chatting to a classmate about university clubs, discussing what you're going to do after graduation with your classmate. And you'll be listening to a conversation either with a professor or a classmate. And as I mentioned earlier, this question is broken up into 3 parts. Part 1 looks like this, and it's called Listen and Complete. Your job is to listen and complete the gaps. Part 2, Listen and Respond. Here you will participate in a conversation with a classmate or a professor. Your job is to listen and select the correct response. Part 3 is called Summarize the Conversation. This is a writing question, and your job is to write a short summary of the whole conversation you just had during the listening parts of this question type. So interactive listening does have 3 parts to it. In this video, however, we're just going to cover parts 1 and part 2 because they are the main listening parts, and I'll cover part 3 in a separate video in the future. Remember, part 3 is the writing part. So let's get started with part 1. For part 1, you are going to listen to a scenario. The scenario will give you the whole context of the conversation. And while you're listening to the scenario, you are going to be answering 3 or 4 questions. This is an example from the official Duolingo practice test. If you want to take that, which I highly recommend, there is a link below in the video description. And as you can see, these are the types of questions you'll get. Let's listen to the scenario first.
You are an urban studies student who is nearing the end of their undergraduate studies. You are trying to decide if you should apply for a job, or if you should apply for a doctoral program. You ask your professor for their opinion.
And as you can see right here, your job is to complete the sentences. Your job is not to write a full sentence, you're just completing the last part of the sentence, and this part will contain the main information. You are not expected to write lots of words, probably between 2 and 10 words. If your answer is more than 10, and if it seems like you're writing a full sentence, then maybe it's best to check that, because all you're doing is writing out the key information. So that's how it works, and those are the basics. But now let's talk about some strategies and tips to help you to do well for this part 1 of interactive listening. Okay, so let's talk about some tips that can help you. You can actually listen to the scenario as many times as you want. Now, something I've noticed when I've done this question type is that normally the questions follow the order of the scenario. So you can listen once to get answer 1, listen second time to get answer 2, and listen a third time to get answer number 3, and it should follow the same order. Of course, I can't guarantee that will be the same for every single question, but the ones I've experienced, that seems to be the case. The first part of the answer is done for you, and you just need to complete the last part. And you have 6.5 minutes to complete parts 1 and part 2 of this question. It's very important that you understand that the 6.5 minutes, which start ticking as soon as the scenario plays on part 1, that time is for parts 1 and part 2, which of course means if you spend too long just focusing on part 1, then you will not have enough time to complete part 2, which in fact is the main part of this whole interactive listening question type. So what's my recommendation? My recommendation is that you do not spend more than 2.5 minutes on part 1. Around 2 minutes is ideal. That will give you enough time to answer part 2 fully. So make sure you are diligent with your timekeeping and limit yourself to around 2 or 2.5 minutes max for part 1. Okay, now I'm going to show you a clip of me answering interactive listening part 1 fully, so you understand how it's done in context.
You are an urban studies student who is nearing the end of their undergraduate studies. You are trying to decide if you should apply for a job or if you should apply for a doctoral program. You ask your professor for their opinion.
Okay, so yeah, that's the first listening of the scenario. You have to listen and then you have to fill in these gaps. You can listen to this as many times as you want to, so that's really good, but don't forget that this time limit is not just for these questions, it is for section 2, which is the conversation. So you can't spend too long doing it. I study, and also look here, it's what is your field of studies? I study. For this one, you really do participate in the conversation, and that's great. It's very authentic and very real life. So it's always I. So I study urban studies. I've almost finished my, I can't remember, listen again.
You are an urban studies student who is nearing the end of their undergraduate studies. You are trying to decide if you should apply for a job or if you should apply for a doctoral program. You ask your professor for their opinion.
Job or a doctoral program. I'm asking my professor for their opinion. Okay, so I wouldn't recommend you spend more than 2 minutes on this section, but so I have time of 6 minutes 30 overall. So we got some time, so I will double check.
You are an urban studies student who is nearing the end of their undergraduate studies. You are trying to decide if you should apply for a job or if you should apply for a doctoral program. You ask your professor for their opinion.
Now let's move on to part 2 of interactive listening, which is the main part of this whole question type. For part 2, you are going to participate in an academic conversation. Keyword there is participate. You are acting as if you are one of the people in the conversation. And the conversations will be on topics that you might actually have in real life at a university or college. This is what it looks like on the test. And in my opinion, the fact that you are participating in the conversation makes this listening really authentic, because you're not listening passively, you are listening actively. And if you compare this listening to the other listening activities on IELTS or TOEFL, where you just listen passively, you'll see that on the Duolingo English Test, you are supposed to be a very active listener, and that is more engaging and much more natural. Okay, so here's the process of part 2 all the way from start to finish. Step 1, I recommend that you reread this scenario carefully. This will give you the context you'll need to answer the questions correctly. And it is a vital step, so please read it carefully before you begin listening. There will be lots of clues in the scenario which will help you throughout the listening. Trust me, do that and look for clues. Step 2, you either listen first to your professor or classmate, or sometimes it's your job to start the conversation by picking the best option. A lot of my students in my VIP program get very confused by this. They ask, how can I start the conversation before I've listened to anything? Well, that is why step 1 was so important. You have to select the best response based off of the scenario. Whatever the context was in the scenario, that will help you to start the conversation. That's why step 1 is a very important step. Step 3 is to listen to the other person, a friend or professor, and choose the most appropriate response. Now, this is an important thing to know. You can actually only listen to this once. In part 2 of interactive listening, all of the audio files can only be played once. There's no repeat or anything like that. So just so you're aware. And of course, your job is to select the correct response. Go through the conversation and choose the most appropriate response at each step. Some options will be clearly incorrect and others will be more tricky. If you are looking at the options and you see that 2 answers might be correct, what do? Because you can't listen again. Well, you just scroll up and read the conversation. There will be some clues in there that can help you. You will also be able to see which answers you got correct and which ones you got incorrect. It's very important to read these if you are stuck. There will likely be some clues in these written answers. And step 5, this is a very important one. When you finish, do not click next right away. It's very important you do not click next right away, because as soon as you click next, you will be taken to part 3, which is summarize the conversation. And you don't want that to happen right away. You want to be more prepared. So this is what I recommend. Before you click next, you scroll up and you read the whole conversation one more time to refresh your memory on what was said during the conversation. Also, use this extra time as preparation. Try to map out in your mind what you're going to write in part 3. Okay, now here's a clip of me answering part 2 fully on the official Duolingo English test. This is part 2. We are now participating in the conversation based on this scenario. So use this scenario to help you. Actually, you need to use it to help you. Look here, pick the best option to start. So you are starting the conversation. Okay, so I've almost finished. Professor, I'm here by my final paper. Oh, I don't really know. I have some great news. I hope you're doing well. I'm here. I think it's just generic. I hope you're doing well. Yes. Poof, that was close. Also, you can check your answers. So that's really useful.
Hi, I'm doing well, thanks. What can I do for you?
Okay, I want to get your opinion on something. I'm nearing my undergraduate studies. I'm trying to apply for a doctor. There you go. This is it. So it's exactly what the scenario was, right? I wanted to get your opinion on something. I'm nearing the end of my undergraduate studies and I'm trying to decide if I should apply for a job or should apply for a doctoral program. There you go.
That's a tough decision. Have you been looking at jobs in the field that you're interested in?
Okay, have you been looking for jobs? I see. A lot of times, just based on this kind of first little response, you can tell if it's correct or not. So I see is not correct because he asked us a question. So I'm going to be answering yes or no. Yes, and some of them are applying. No. Yes, there are some programs. No. Yes, I've been looking, but most of the jobs require a few years of experience. Okay, so you see here, yeah, I've been looking.
That's true. A doctoral program would give you the opportunity to gain more knowledge and research experience in your field so that you can eventually get a job that you want.
Okay. You can only listen once as well to this one, so it's a bit trickier. Must be this one. Yeah. I didn't really listen properly. Oh no. Yeah, this one. But it feels like it would take so long.
It definitely takes a lot of time and commitment, but it can be very rewarding. If you're not sure if an advanced degree is for you, why don't you try working in your field for a few years and then decide whether or not to pursue a doctorate later on?
Okay, so he suggested something, work in your field for a few years and then decide. So my answer is not going to be yes, because that's responding to a yes or no question. It's going to be something like, good idea. Yeah, I think it's just, that's a good idea. Thank you, Professor. So he suggested that I work in my field for a few years and then decide. So I'm not going to say great. I could say great idea, but there's no plan to see him tomorrow, right? Okay, I'll do some more research. He didn't really suggest to do more research either. He said just kind of get a job and see how it goes. It has to be this one. Yes, that's correct. Okay, all right. So yeah, you have to use the conversation, of course, to help you to choose the correct answer, and also this scenario. Step 3 is coming up, which is summarizing this conversation in writing in just 75 seconds. That's really short.
What you should aim to do for interactive listening is have at least a minute, like I have here, left after you've done the listening part, because I now can read this one more time to kind of refresh my memory, and then when I am typing, it'll be a lot easier. So I have to summarize this conversation. So I'm going to read it through one more time, then I'm going to click continue. Do not click continue right away. You'll be shocked. You'll end up on the summary page and you won't be ready. So make sure you read this, okay?
Okay, that's how you answer part 1 and part 2 of interactive listening. The best place for you to prepare, besides this YouTube channel, is by taking the official practice test on the Duolingo website. There's a link somewhere down here. Click that and try it out. Also, you might want to watch this video right now because this covers the summarizing a conversation part. Watch this because I will teach you a useful strategy or template for writing an effective summary in just 75 seconds. Yes, you only have 75 seconds to write your summary. This video will be very helpful for you. Okay, I'll see you here right now.